see you get up. 6:30? 60 minutes, okay. No? Nope. Okay, it is 6:30. I'd like to start on time, so good evening and welcome, and thank you for coming out this evening. I hear it is treacherous out there in the rain, and it's windy and yucky yuck, but thank you for taking the time and spending it with us. So let's begin with a prayer as we begin all good things. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. God of all creation, we ask you to send down your Spirit upon St. Mark's High School. As we embark upon a new chapter of St. Mark's High School, filled with excitement and anticipation, we ask you to grant us your spirit of peace as we navigate the changing environment we find ourselves in. Grant us ears to listen, words that are spoken clearly, and courageous hearts to move forward, so that we may give you glory in all that we do in this school. Bless our students as they strive to be the saints you have made them to be. Bless our teachers and the staff who work tirelessly to bring your truth, your goodness, and your beauty to our students in every lesson. We look to Christ as a master teacher and ask all these things through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Again, good evening. Thank you for coming out. My name is Diane Casey. I'm the principal here at St. Mark's High School. When I started here at St. Mark's 2 years ago, it was a really exciting time. We've increased enrollment. We have put an esports center in. We're working on increasing and working with our students on retreat programs and spirituality. Again, as I say to all of our students at each of our assemblies, that we are a Catholic school. It is a gift. So we have the tools, and our spirituality is forefront. The academic program is extremely critical that surrounds our spiritual life. So as you hear the presentations as we grow as a school, I'm just asking you, willing to be an informed person in regards to what your students are taking, how they are achieving here at St. Mark's, what we can do as a school to assist them. So I'm happy that you showed up tonight. There will be presentations throughout of what our curriculum is, what it looks like, what are some of the advancements to our curriculum. We'll have Goldie Beacom, who we're going to be partnering with in the business department, so to get some intake from there. And then we'll see where we go. Okay, so tonight really is just an information session to kind of you hear what we have, what the future looks like for us academically. So with that, I just introduce Mr. Fran Cargan, our academic assistant principal at St. Mark's High School.
Thank you, Mrs. Casey. As Mrs. Casey said, we're going to be talking about certain elements of the academic program tonight. I'm going to run through basic requirements, and I'm also going to talk about some University of Delaware dual enrollment opportunities tonight. The first, and everything we're putting up here tonight, because we're giving you lots of information, we're going to post this on the academics and curriculum tile on the website. So if you're trying to frantically take notes, you can stop. You're going to have an opportunity to see this later. The first slide up here tonight, we do require 27 credits for graduation. And you see the requirements as they're up here. And probably you've seen these before. One that I want to take special note of is at the end when it says 5 electives. Know that electives are more than certain half-credit courses. Extra social studies, extra math courses, extra science courses can count as the electives credits, and we actually encourage that, and I think Ms. Tatnall is going to be speaking a little bit more about that this evening. We have certain University of Delaware courses that are dual enrollment courses, and a dual enrollment course means that a student receives high school credit as well as college credit. Some of the courses are in person, and some are asynchronous, meaning the students are going to take these on their own basically and have to keep up with lectures and everything that are posted online. Through the University of Delaware Health Science Department, we have 2 courses taught a year, one in the fall and one in the spring. And a University of Delaware instructor actually comes to the St. Mark's campus and teaches the kids here. Currently, there's no charge for this program, and it's open to honor students in good standing. We're one of the 2 schools in the state of Delaware that the Health Science Department is coming to. Some examples of the courses: Introduction to Health Science, Personal Health Management, Nutrition, Exercise Science, and they're looking at some other options for next year. We don't know exactly which ones are going to be in there, but by the time the students start registering, we'll have those posted. Another dual enrollment possibility are the early credit courses that the University of Delaware is doing with certain schools in the state. These classes are done asynchronously, and what that means is lectures are posted online, assignments are posted online, and students have to go and basically work through the curriculum. And so students who take these courses, and again, they have to be honor students in good standing, they have to be students who can manage a load pretty much on their own. They're going to be working through it. They're going to be making sure that it's not getting away from them. So again, you might have a good honor student, but you always have to take into account, are they going to be able to work through this course material on their own? The University of Delaware for these courses, again, does not charge anything for these asynchronous courses, but they do limit the slots. Typically, I'm going to show you a number of the courses they're going to be offering. They limit the slots to anywhere from 3 to 6 students from St. Mark's who are allowed to enter these courses. Examples of some of the courses: Media and Society, Studies in Popular Fiction, Changing the World and Public Policy, Geological Hazards and Their Human Impact, Food for Thought, Media Design and Culture. One other dual enrollment possibility from the University of Delaware is the Introduction to Hospitality Business Management. This is taught in the evening at the University of Delaware. Again, it's open to students who honor students in good standing, and there is a fee of $75. To examine all course offerings, we ask that you take part and look at our course catalog. And to find our course catalog, I'm going to kind of guide you there tonight, and I want to make note to you that the course catalog that you see, if you went home tonight and looked at it, it's still a work in progress, so there might be some changes made in the next couple of weeks, just so that you're aware. If you go to the website and go to the resource tile page, if you look and see where there's an arrow pointing down to academics and curriculum, that's where you're going to find the course catalog, and after tonight, that's where you're going to find this slideshow of the different things that we're presenting. You'll see a number of different options. You're going to find the course catalog and click on that, and when you open it up, that's what it's going to look like, and then you can go through and preview and get a sense of different courses. We do ask parents to really talk to their students and knowledgeably about the courses, and the course catalog is a really good place to start. And if you have questions after reviewing a course description, you're still not too sure about it, that's when you can reach out to a department chair. But knowledge is the best way to get yourself prepared and your students prepared to make good choices for the course registration for next year. And a lot of it's going to begin with the course catalog. I want to thank you for your attention. At this point, I'm going to welcome Mr. Bonatadovas, our head of guidance, and he's going to talk to us about some other opportunities with the courses. Oh, wait, that's mine. You want to take the other? Sorry.
All right, good evening. Thank you for coming out. So I am going to kind of delve into, Mr. Corrigan talked mostly about the sort of University of Delaware options. We're going to hear pretty soon about some Goldie Beacom options. I'm going to delve into the options, you know, that we offer here from our teachers in-house here. And the typical schedule, and I think all of you are rising junior, senior parents. So if you look to the far right 2 columns, keep in mind what Mr. Corrigan said about requirements. So every student's going to take, 4 years of theology, English, and math. The science and social studies, we only have a 3-year requirement, but we strongly encourage students to take a 4th year of those 2 classes. So, and most do. Most students, even senior year, are still taking, religion, English, math, science, and social studies. We have a 2-year foreign language requirement. We strongly encourage juniors to take the 3rd year, and that is because there are some colleges that require a 3rd year, and when the student's a sophomore at this time picking classes for junior year, they don't necessarily know where they're going to apply to college their senior year. So as long as they're doing well in a foreign language, we usually tell them take at least 3 years. 4th year is great. Now, if they're not doing well in foreign language, that's a whole other thing, right? It doesn't make sense to take a 3rd year and get a really low grade in it. But if they're a good student, they're getting decent grades in foreign language, and they're a current sophomore, we recommend they take a 3rd year of a language. And also, just to let you know, we are going, so the way we typically do this is the kids in mid-February will pick their courses online. The guidance counselors go to all the religion classes and sort of facilitate it, but you will have the opportunity to see what they pick and sign off on it. And even before that starts in mid-February, your students' current teachers are going to be putting in additional recommendations for your sons and daughters as to what courses they think they should take. And we can talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but let's kind of delve into the different departments here. So first, as far as theology, if your student is a rising junior, they will take a semester of morality and a semester of social justice. Seniors have more options. We're still working on the specifics, but this year there's currently a course in lived spirituality. There's a course on history of the Catholic Church in the United States. Death and dying is a popular one. So there are options. Again, these will be described in the course booklet and online, okay? And we'll be going through it again with all that with the students in class. But there are more options for senior year. All juniors take the morality, social justice. Math's a little complicated because it depends on what class your son or daughter takes this year for math. So for instance, if your son or daughter came in honors geometry as a freshman, then sophomore year they took either the Algebra 2 honors or the Algebra 2 trig honors. So it kind of shows you the progression going left to right. So it really depends on what your son or daughter's taking now as to what they will take next year. And the math department will make it easy by putting those recommendations right into the actual screen where the kids are going to be picking their classes. And if you have any questions, just let us know. As you can see, there are a lot of options, and a new option next year is AP Pre-Calculus. That has been something that we've not offered here before. So that will be an additional AP option. English, just as we did this year, at the CP level, students are going to take an English 4 class. At the honors level, there's a few more options. There's an AP English language, there's honors English 4, and there's a creative and critical writing. Creative and critical reading? Writing. Writing? Yeah. Reading and writing. And at the junior year, all juniors take British Lit, whether it's honors or CP. Again, in the course booklet that's posted, there's a description of all these classes, like a paragraph of all these classes. If you really, we encourage you and your students to really kind of look at that before we do the course selections. And again, we're going to do that in a few weeks, so you have a few weeks to kind of do some research on this. For social studies next year, at the CP level, we have psychology, economics, law and government, and that's what we've offered for years. At the honors level, we have AP Psych, Honors Psych, Honors Econ, Honors Law and Government, AP European History next year, and Introduction to Entrepreneurship is another dual enrollment class through the University of Delaware, but it's taught by one of our teachers that's been certified to teach the University of Delaware class, and that is a full year class, and it's credit here and University of Delaware. It's called Entrepreneurship, and that does have an additional charge, around $500. At the science department, juniors and seniors have several options at the honors level, whether it be AP Bio, AP Chem, AP Environmental Science, AP Physics, or honors Human Anatomy. At the CP level, it's Physics, Human Anatomy, or Environmental Science are the options. There are, and then if you look at the bottom right, those courses are elective courses within the science department. So something like aquatic biology or forensics, those are elective half-year classes that can be taken, but they don't count towards the 3-year science requirement. So a lot of seniors are taking those kind of classes. Foreign language really depends on what your son or daughter's taking this year, right? If they're in Spanish 2 this year, they would be in Spanish 3 next year. If they're in Spanish 3 this year, they'll be in Spanish 4 next year. And depending on what level they're already in. So that's pretty simple, I think. And again, strongly encourage at least 3 years of a foreign language. So juniors, we want to see them take 7 credits. We need 27 to graduate. So every student's a little bit different if they have had a shortfall in their first couple years maybe. But in general, 7 credits for junior year, at least 6.5 for senior year. So senior year, you can tell there's a lot of ways to get to that, because really, in theory, we only have the requirement senior year are religion, math, English. So to get to 6.5, you can do it a lot of ways. Again, most students will take a science senior year, a social studies a senior year. But these are all additional electives that we offer and have offered. These are more of your traditional, what you would think of as elective half-year classes. So obviously anything in the arts, Mr. Corrigan teaches public speaking. We have Ms. Tatnell, who's going to be talking next. Really, Charlie encourages the juniors next year to do the second semester junior college information seminar class with her. She also will you have a senior one possibly next year? We'll see. I know focus is trying to get it moved up to the juniors taking that class. There's yearbook, there's several new computer courses, junior achievement, several different PE electives, personal finance, and again, those science electives that I already mentioned. So again, all this is going to be posted in the course booklet. A lot of options, a lot of information. This is more just a general overview tonight, and we're going to be in the classroom with your students going through the specifics, but please let us know if you have questions, specific questions about classes, or reach out to the department chair for if it's a specific department, like if it's a science class and you want to know more about that class. But again, there are going to be descriptions in the course book for every class we offer. So right now I want to have Ms. Tatnall, who is our college placement director, come up and talk to you.
All right, and all these course selections are to prepare your student for college, which is most of what our students are choosing to go on to. So I am sharing this chart from our state flagship institution, the University of Delaware, because it's a great example to use for many institutions. So we talked about our requirements, but it's also important to think about the college requirements. Now there can be some differences, because Mr. B talked about, well, senior year, you only have those few required courses to meet our graduation requirements. However, if you just do the minimum, you may not reach what you need in order to be considered for the University of Delaware and many other institutions. Majority of our students are challenging themselves and don't have that issue, but a strong senior schedule is important. So I'm just going to reiterate that. I can share this out. This is also on the university's website. It is very rare, I will tell you, very rare that a student is not meeting these numbers. But you can see at minimum they require 18 core units. So they're requiring 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 3 years of science, 4 years of social studies, 2 years of foreign language, 2 academic electives. So that is the minimum requirement. But to be most competitive, you want to have 4 in all core areas and 2 academic electives. So when students are looking at an additional science, so if there is that case where they don't take another foreign language, they take 2 years, you're going to have to pick up another academic load. So whether that's science or social studies. So that's important to note. And there's a lot of options to do that. We've heard a lot so far. Other pieces that, the counseling staff and I will be sure to advise is if your student is looking at certain majors, it is important to take certain classes. So for example, students who are looking to study business and engineering, pre-calculus at minimum is the desired track. So, a lot of people will say, oh, business, I'm going to take stat. Well, a student can take stat, but in order to gain admission to many of the institutions, they're looking that students have that pre-calc track. So that's important to note as well. Those are the really big ones where we kind of get hung up on there for those majors. So what colleges are looking for, important to note as making those course selections. So rigor is important. It is better to see that a student is challenging themselves and earning a B in a rigorous class, like an honors or an AP or a dual enrollment, versus getting an A in a college prep course. Because they're not challenging themselves. So when they go to college and that class is much harder, it's that transition. And we share our school profile with all colleges. That's part of the admissions process. And they see what we have to offer and what students are able to take. Now, not every student is going to be in that very rigorous category, but there are nearly 5,000 colleges across the country. You can certainly find one for them. So focus less on the GPA. I know it's like, well, what is the average GPA? It is more than what is on the transcript. Majority of colleges are going to recalculate a student's GPA. So, all right, you got a 4.0 in all college prep courses. The other kid has a 3.75 and has more honors in AP. That other student with the more rigorous curriculum is going to be better prepared, is going to be the more desirable student. So it is more than the letter grade. Perseverance through challenging courses is more important than just getting a GPA, just getting an A. It's what the student is taking out of there. And that is one of the big factors. So a challenging curriculum followed by the consideration, the rigor of courses. Colleges would rather see that B than that A in a class that they are not challenged by. And a strong senior schedule remains important. So when they're looking at senior year, and I tell students this all the time, just because you met high school requirements does not mean it stops there. Because if you take an easy senior schedule, you start in college and you're like, whoa, this transition is a little tougher, right? I think we all know that as we advance from one grade to the next. If we made it really easy, that next year is even harder. And that transition to college, whether you're the top student in the class, it's still going to be difficult because there are a lot of challenges ahead. So as you're looking at some of these rigorous courses, I just wanted to break down a little bit about AP versus dual enrollment, because you may say, well, which one should I take? And it's going to depend on the student, but ultimately, these both are considered challenging courses. So a college looks at them typically the same, because you're either taking a college course here at our high school or outside versus advanced placement. So AP, high school credit is earned through the course. So you get the high school credit by taking the class. But the college credit is earned based on the score of the exam. So you can go through the course, and depending on what your score is on the exam, will the college accept it or not? And that's going to vary by institution and by subject area. So anywhere between a 3 and a 5, you may get credit, but that can be different at each institution. More often, it is a 4 and 5, and that also can change from year to year. So if you have a student in college right now, and they got AP Bio credit for, usually it's like an upper level bio at Delaware, for an example, that may not stay the same. They could say, oh, actually, we want it to be a 5. Universities are going to review that from year to year. So if you want to know how that credit, transfers to institutions, you can probably look at the registrar's website for the institution. But it's going to be based on how the student scores on the exam. But either way, the rigor and challenge of taking that course is an advantage in terms of admission into the university. Dual enrollment, of course, you're taking the class, you're getting your taste of college and what that experience is like. Typically, you're going to earn credit if it's a C- or better. Now, sometimes that credit may be earned as an elective or a general elective. It could transfer directly as, Bio 100, maybe Bio 101 at that other institution. But it's going to vary, again, based on each institution. Either way, you are cutting off graduation time. So how it fits is dependent on the institution. Does that make sense? And then finally, if you want to learn more about colleges, not just the ones that we have here tonight, shameless plug here, next week is Catholic College Night in coordination with Catholic Schools Week, so we are celebrating with some of our partners, and some of these institutions do offer merit money just by attending a Catholic school, so there can be some great advantages there. Computer science programs, esports programs, business programs as well. So if you would like to join us, that's 6:30 on February 1st. It is a panel-like discussion. So come on out, bring your students with you as well. Hope to see the students at that event, spearheading that conversation. All right, thank you. All right, and now our colleagues at Goldie Beacom will join us to talk more about our new partnership with them as well.
All right, well, thanks so much for having us here tonight. For those of you who were hoping to learn about enrolling in dueling and fencing courses, I apologize. This isn't quite as exciting as that. But I think y'all know at this point what dual enrollment actually is. And so we'll be talking about dual enrollment at Goldie Beacom College, as well as some other options that are available through potential partnerships with St. Mark's in the future. So I'm Joel Warden. I'm Associate Provost at the college. This is Ryan Kwan, our Registrar, and Brittany Hobbs, our Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions. So obviously Jackie just covered a good number of details about what dual enrollment actually is, and what some of the student benefits are. And so I just touch on a couple of other benefits that you might think about in terms of what dual enrollment can offer your student. For one, Jackie touched on the idea of like you get to sort of sample college, and naturally college structure tends to differ quite a bit from high school structure, and so the time management and prioritization of assignments and your schedule is something that I think is a useful learning experience from taking a dual enrollment course. Likewise, you get to learn from scholars in their field, right? You get to sample, your student would get to sample classes, college classes in disciplines that they might be interested in, and so discover what tracks they might want to take in college, as well as what tracks they might want to avoid in college. Let's be honest, right? And so as well, another benefit, I think, one that is probably in everyone's mind, Jackie mentioned the idea of sort of cutting off time in college, which equates to saving money as well as time in college. So that's a very real benefit, of course, of dual enrollment. But additionally, you think about just what it does for students to have a number of, let's say they come in with 30 credits of college courses. That means that, you know, if the average student needs to take 5 classes every semester to graduate, that's a heavy load for some students, and so to not have to be on that track of 5 classes every semester on average, that can be a real benefit to students as well who take dual enrollment courses. So just some of the concrete benefits of students considering dual enrollment courses. And then one final thing that I'd add in terms of the AP conversation versus dual enrollment. Naturally, there are a number of benefits to taking AP courses in terms of how colleges view AP classes. One of the downsides, of course, to an AP class is that a lot rides on that final exam and what score your student gets on that final exam for the AP class. With a dual enrollment course, the student gets to work on a number of assignments, a number of exams throughout the semester in order to earn a C- or better, and then that college credit is sort of a guaranteed thing for your student. So now I will transfer over to Ryan. He's going to talk about some of the details of dual enrollment at Goldie Beacom College, and give you some of those facts.
How's it going, everybody? First, I wanted to go over the courses that we offer currently that any student can take advantage of. And then once I turn it back over to Joel, he's going to turn it over to Brittany to kind of bring it home for the how exactly does that happen, and what could you do now, or what actions do you need to take. First, we offer a menu of any of our 100-level classes for students to take. So that includes classes like Intro to Psychology, Intro to Sociology, the math courses, the English courses that are pretty typical in the gen ed component of any college. So those are where you're going to get maximum transferability. If you take a dual enrollment course at any of the colleges, whether it's University of Delaware, Goldie Beacom, Del State, Wilmington, those are the courses where no matter where your student goes, there's probably a core course requirement in most degree programs that'll match up to. But beyond that, like Joel said, you could take advantage of courses that are taught by subject matter experts. So those courses would include disciplinary courses. For example, we have a menu of business degree program offerings. So we teach a survey course that's called Introduction to Business that goes over every area of business. So our freshmen enroll in that and learn what they like and what they don't like. They learn whether they want to be an accountant or a financial analyst, or they don't want to be in business at all because none of it seems to apply to them. So courses like those, or an Intro to Human Services or Criminal Justice. So think the major courses that typical freshmen would take. Those transferability to other institutions, it kind of depends. So like what Jackie touched on, if they take a human services course and then they decide that they want to be, computer information sciences major, then you kind of border on the might not transfer. So there's a difference between the gen ed courses and major specific courses. But we also have a couple certificate programs right now, and then Joel's going to touch on a couple more that are underway. Those are certificates that our faculty affirmed match together, so they get packaged. One of them right now is just a general business certificate, so it's like an accounting course, a finance course, a management course that kind of expose you to different areas. And they're 4 classes, so any student can enroll in either the 100-level courses I talked about or the certificate programs that we have. And there's pros and cons to doing either of those that Joel's going to touch on about future offerings. The cost for any of these courses is $100, so you're saving tuition dollars. In the long run, depending on where you go or where your student goes, the cost of courses can range from $1,000 net to upwards of $3,000. So you're getting a pretty steep discount if you take advantage of either what Jackie went through, the University of Delaware, or I'm sorry, was it Jackie who went through it? Yeah, the University of Delaware cost or our cost, you're saving money in the long run. So again, Joel touched on those benefits too, but that's kind of where we currently are. I'm going to turn it back over to Joel. He's going to talk about some future options.
All right, thanks, Ryan. So yeah, some future possibilities that we've been talking about that is in some ways dependent upon you is dedicated sections offered here at St. Mark's or at Goldie Beacom College, and so naturally this depends upon sort of interest from students and families. But one of the things that I think it's in some ways illustrative of who Goldie Beacom is that we sort of show up for tonight and come and talk to y'all. This is who we are at Goldie Beacom College. We're customizable, we're personal, and we like to try to work with institutions in our community in order to serve their educational needs. And that's not just high schools; it's businesses as well. And so if there's interest from a number of St. Mark's students, we'd be happy to come and teach a course on your campus to your students, a dedicated section, or dedicate a section on our campus, whether that's online, synchronous, or in person. Likewise, as Ryan mentioned, we have a number of certificate programs that we are working on. They include certificates in criminal justice, in human services, in leadership, in bookkeeping. Our faculty are active in developing certificates that are meaningful, so that students don't necessarily have to wait until they get an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, in order to have some sort of certification that has some meaning in the marketplace. And so the same sort of idea applies to dual enrollment courses as I'm talking about certificate programs. If there was interest in particular certificate programs from St. Mark's families and students, we could naturally work out how we would offer those certificate programs for St. Mark's families. So again, the benefits, of course, to certificate programs are that a student gets a credential. Usually it's 4 courses that are combined together, and then the student receives that credential. They get it in about a semester or 2, and so then that's something that they can take to employers and say, I've got more than just average sort of experience in this field. Yes, ma'am. So the question is, are we talking about next fall, or are there possibilities for this spring or summer for dual enrollment? For dual enrollment, yeah, you could start today. So our dual enrollment courses are running. Essentially, it's a dual enrollment course would be a student of yours enrolling in a course of ours that's already that's scheduled. So we have started our spring semester, but we have 2 sessions during the spring semester. So session 1 has begun. Session 2 starts March 6th. And so that would be kind of your very first opportunity to jump in. All right. Any other questions before I pass it off to Brittany, and she'll tell you a lot about the how.
Yeah, that was a perfect segue to my section. So I work in admissions, so I'm going to talk about what our current dual enrollment process is. So like he mentioned, we have our spring session started, but if you have any students that are currently interested in enrolling in one of our classes, all of our classes are listed out on our website. You can reach out to admissions. We can let you know if there's any classes you're interested in. I also brought some brochures about our current dual enrollment process. So it's a really easy process. You fill out our free online application. We require a high school transcript. As long as the student has a 2.7 or higher, they can enroll in any of the courses. We have some that we suggest, but if there is like a pre-calc or some class that you really want to take that's not offered with the courses in your course catalog, like an intro to psych or something like that, and we are offering it, like I said, you just have to fill out the application, submit the transcript, and it's $100 for the course. If you scan the QR code, that'll take you to the website for the application. You can just go on our application and fill it out. And like I also have copies of the brochures with me today. And students can do up to 4 classes in this dual enrollment price, and some students like to do it in the summer if they want, and we have two sessions in the summer that they could do it for, and some of them are online, some of them are in person, and they will be classes with other Goldie Beacom students. And as a dual enrollment student, you're treated just like every other Goldie Beacom student. So you could get a student ID, you can use our library, you can come to our campus. If you need to meet with a faculty member or whatever, you'll have all of those options, advisor, admissions. So if you have questions about any of that, please let us know. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so the question was, I think, related to future partnership with St. Mark's, where students enroll in either session courses or 15-week courses, and how that lines up with St. Mark's schedule. So whether they do a study hall in session 2 or session 1. The benefit of doing a partnership with St. Mark's is that we can do whatever St. Mark's and whatever your students want. So if that's multiple 15-week courses all at the same time, our courses are flexible. So we have some courses that are as short as a week in length, where it's a Monday through Saturday course for like 7 hours a day, or it could be a 15-week course that's the traditional model that St. Mark's uses, or could be multiple courses, so session 1, and then they could also take a second course as session 2. So what we kind of envisioned was, if we went with the session 1, session 2 model, it would be 2 semesters of classes where it's 1, 2, and then 1, 2, so a total of 4 classes. If you wanted to stretch that out over 4 semesters or 4 marking periods, then it would be fall, spring, fall, spring. But for currently, right now, what we have and how we offer it is based on the schedule that we develop for our students at Goldie Beacom. So like Brittany said, we have session 1, session 2, 15 weeks, however your student wants to fit that in their schedule. We have night classes, we have online classes, there's 15-week, there's session 1, there's session 2, and that's for fall, spring, and summer. So that I think typically we see a lot of high school students taking advantage of dual enrollment in summer because they don't have, course schedule and things going on in high school, different events, athletics, so on. So there's less conflict in summer. But we certainly offer it in fall, spring, and summer. So I guess it's 2-part answer. One is we can build it how you, and that's a great question, build it how your students are interested in it. But for what we currently have, it's also flexible. It's just you have to look at what we offer. And I guess I'll pop this up too. So if you guys have specific questions, we wanted to include our contact information so we can point you in the right direction talk more specifically about your students' needs. And then,
No, you're good.
yeah, I think the goal would be that we're not replacing St. Mark's curriculum. So they have a core requirements of certain math courses, the 4 units of English. So we probably, if we partner, wouldn't offer our critical writing 1 and 2 to replace any of the English classes they teach. Where we're looking at it more is if we offered a management and leadership certificate and those aren't courses that St. Mark's offers, then we're helping supplement and kind of build the students' needs out with what we offer, but not replacing what's offered at St. Mark's. Sure. More. Right. I think what we could do in the long run, and it would be simple and probably easy for parents and students to digest, is to have a list that we provide St. Mark's of all the courses that we offer dual enrollment, and then St. Mark's and Goldie Beacom mutually agree on classes that wouldn't count towards St. Mark's curriculum and ones that would, so that, like I said, we're not trying to replace anything that they're teaching, so that if your daughter said, I want to take the critical writing 1 class at Goldie Beacom to get dual enrollment, you know going into it that if you're paying the $100, she's putting the work into it, gets the credit, that it's not counting in their curriculum, but that it still is a college transcript and it's still covered in some way. It's just not the mutual beneficial. Correct, right. So that's more about the above and beyond than it would be replacing curriculum. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
bookkeeping? Is that the one you're thinking of?
Part of the beauty of an agreement too would be that it's solidified so that you know going into it. So right now, I'm going to speak not about St. Mark's and not about Goldie Beacon, but just dual enrollment in general. Most cases, students enroll at a college. They seek it out on their own. They enroll in a class for a discounted rate. And then they may go back to their guidance counselor at high school and say, hey, I'm doing this extra work that's curricular. Can you apply that here so I don't have to take a course that doesn't interest me and it counts towards, like an elective that counts towards graduation. And then it's up to the guidance counselor, the high school, and their policies whether they accept that or not. In most cases they do, but in some cases, depending on the course, they may not, because it may be duplicated. So it may be the same exact course you already took your sophomore year, so that they don't do that. So that's kind of why we're envisioning a partnership, so that we can break down that barrier, so that it's transparent, you know what would count, you know what wouldn't count, and you know what you can go seek on your own, versus if I do these courses, this is the benefits, or these are the benefits that I get. Yeah, so right now, I'm going to err on the safe side and say no, other than to also say that there's an initiative in higher ed, and Goldie Beacon's not immune to this, where we're going more open source, so that there isn't a cost for a textbook for a class, or that at least the textbook's used for multiple classes. So it's one of those like dependent on the institution kind of things, and depending on the class and the instructor and the discipline, where I would say the safe bet there is to bank on paying for a textbook or whatever supplies that course requires, knowing that sometimes a course may be immune to that, or an institution may be immune to that. But a good question though, because it's that indirect expense that always. Yeah, I think an easy example that's they would definitely be fine. Yeah, typically what I would say too is that the student who's willing to seek out the college, and even though Brittany went through and said, scan this QR code, pay the $100, those are still additional steps that a student's gonna have to take beyond what they would do in high school. So usually those are the best, brightest students anyway that come to us and say, I'm just knocking 4 classes out because I want to get ahead in college or accelerate, or I'm going to be a dual major and I know there's more credit requirements. So they're already pretty much ahead of the game. But we also have students that I think find out about us at a high school visit where we say, you can start early with us, and they're like, oh, that's interesting. And they just kind of stumble into it. And then, yeah, I don't think we've had a student not do well in the class, because admissions does a good job matching up the student with look, make sure that you're not doing 4 classes with us and considering yourself as a full-time student in addition to being on the football team and taking all the classes at high school, and you have all these other things. So I think admissions does a good job of helping the student and the parent balance that. So it's here's the demands you're going to be expected, because like Brittany said, we treat them just like a regular college student, so just like a freshman. Yeah, any other questions? And we'll be around too afterwards if you guys want to come up. Cool. Thank you. Make sure I didn't turn it off on you.
Again, we are still trying to seal the deal here with Goldie Beacom, and it's really the interest from the parents and the students that will kind of generate what classes we're actually going to offer. So, I mean, that will be put out there. We'll be around. All of us will be around, so if you have any individual questions that you want to ask, please feel free. Again, I'm in the process now. I have a student who is my own son who is in 8th grade, and I'm looking at high schools and looking at St. Mark's, and I live in Jersey, and he will be my 4th child that I put through high school. So with him, it seems to me that the changes that are out there now is that you can actually get out of high school with 15 credits at least. I have 2 nieces that graduated from Ridley High School in Delaware County, went to Penn State main campus. They graduated within 3 years from there because they got the credits in high school. So I'm all about trying to look at finances and how we save some money and get our kids to where they need to be successfully. So with that being said, thank you for coming out tonight. If you have any questions, I'm not going anywhere. Mr. Corrigan, we're all right here, so please feel free to bring the questions on. Drive safe. Have a good night. Thanks.